Now, more than ever, we need to focus on stories of strength, courage, and unity. Welcome to COVID Talks, a series dedicated to promoting positive conversations during uncertain times.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 35th episode of COVID Talks, Positive Conversations During Uncertain Times. My name is Anthony Rapp of PRcision, and I'll be your host for the evening. First and foremost, I hope everyone had a whatever you consider normal and a somewhat safe and socially distanced Memorial Day weekend. Hope you guys were able to do something, enjoy yourselves, get outside, go for a walk, whatever the case may be. So hopefully you were able to do something. The weather was beautiful, at least here in Staten Island. And we want to thank you for those of you who are tuning in live right now. Thank you for watching. If you can go to the bottom of the screen, hit that little share button. We appreciate it. You can continue to spread the word so more people can watch. And if you're listening to us on our podcast right now, we appreciate that as well, of course. So thank you for downloading and listening in on our podcast. Tonight, we have a great guest, Mr. Larry Marantz. He's the Executive Director of Richmond County Day Camp, located here in Staten Island for the last 25 years. They're currently operating out of the campus on Mount Loretto. But again, given what's going on in the current climate, what is the state of summer camp? And ironically, it's something that I personally haven't given thought to. And I know if you're a mom or dad out there with a kid who goes, you probably have given thought to it. But the fact is that Larry and I were just talking about it behind the scenes here. And the fact is that right now, there really hasn't been any jurisdiction placed on day camps, specifically for one reason. And Larry will elaborate on this, but because right now, day camps aren't scheduled to open till July. So right now they're kind of in a weird space because no rulings have come down. Nothing has been said specifically related to their industry. And I was very interested to hear this from Larry, so I can't wait for him to share this information with you guys as well. But before we bring Larry on, we're going to do our positive news headlines of the day as we do each day. So first up, guys out there, girls out there here on Staten Island especially, people and small business owners are getting a little bit fed up, and I can't say that I don't blame them. So in today's Advance, we have a report of one Staten Island business owner who's going to be opening up this Thursday. The owner of Sunbelievable, Bobby Catone. Anyone who lives on Staten Island knows Sunbelievable is one of the largest tanning salons and tanning operators out here. And he's basically saying, I'm going to open up and let's see what happens because he's unable to provide for his family. And right now, this is his biggest season. So what I would say is, shout out to him for doing it. I just don't know if it was the smartest thing to have an article written about it in the paper, because now it's kind of like they know what you're doing and they could be there. But we do wish him the best of luck, and we do, on behalf of all small business owners, our thoughts are with you because there really are no answers, and eventually it's going to get to the point where you're going to have to take a stand. And so we salute Bobby for doing that, and we hope that it works out well, and we hope that he's able to stay open and stay within the guidelines. In other news, the JCC, the Jewish Community Center on Staten Island, launched a coronavirus recovery program whereby people who have suffered from the disease, whether physically or mentally through a family member, they're going to be able to get some free resources from the JCC. And actually, this news broke today, but we have scheduled for our show tomorrow night at 7 p.m. We're going to have the director of programming, specifically from the JCC, who is going to discuss how this recovery, the coronavirus recovery program, is going to work and how you can take part. So we're looking forward to tomorrow night's episode at 7, where you can learn more. And finally today, we all heard it, at least if you're a Staten Island resident, you're very familiar with it. So Cuomo was asked, since the borough of Staten Island has seen the least amount of coronavirus cases in past few days, past few weeks, we heard today from our local politicians, Stephen Matteo and Councilman Borelli, that we've now met 5 of the 7 metrics that they've put in effect for us to open. But at the end of the day, even though Staten Island's doing really well and we're really proud and really happy that we're doing so well, Cuomo has said point blank, even though we're doing well and we're a borough unto ourselves, he's going to let us fall into the jurisdiction of the city, and we have to wait until the rest of the city reopens. So we hope that we're on our way, and sooner or later we're going to be reopened up. So Couple PSAs. How can you find out more about us? Follow us on Facebook at COVID Talk. Check out our website, covid-talks.com. You can find all of the past episodes as well as future episodes. Of course, we encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel at COVID Talks and check us out on our podcast on iTunes or Spotify. And as I mentioned a few seconds ago, we encourage you to join us tomorrow night at 7. We'll have Miss Neshama Marcus, who is the Chief Program Director of the JCC, the Jewish Community Center, out here in Staten Island, and she's going to be talking to us specifically and exclusively about their new coronavirus recovery program. So we're looking forward to having her with us on the show tonight and learning some more information. All right, so we're back. So as I said at the beginning of the show, it was very interesting when Larry and I were speaking behind the scenes because the industry itself is something we all take for granted. My son's 4.5 months old, so I'm not thinking about summer camp, but you know that summer camp is something people talk about this time of year. It's just commonplace. But what I didn't think about, or I don't know if anyone else was thinking about, is there really hasn't been a ruling or a mandate or anything that's come down from the top as to how these camps are to proceed. Because again, from what Larry told me and what he's going to explain to us, their season doesn't begin until July. So, the state, the federal government, et cetera, they really haven't had to make a decision yet and pull the trigger because they're kind of getting away with it. But we're going to hear from Larry what's going on, what they're doing, and how at least Richmond County Day Camp is preparing to open and open up for business as usual. So with that, we are going to bring to the stream Mr. Larry Marantz. He is the Executive Director of Richmond County Day Camp here on Staten Island, again, operating out of Mount Loretto. And he's been at it for 25 years. Larry, how are you?
Hey, good evening, Anthony. How are you?
Great. So first and foremost, thank you for being with us. I really appreciate it. And thank you for educating me before we began the live stream so I didn't look foolish. You taught me some things I needed to know. But before we get into the nitty-gritty and focusing on what's going to come in the future, let's hear about you for our viewers and listeners. Tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, and how did summer camp come about and come into your life?
Well, I guess it started 60 years ago when I was a lad. I, like most Jewish boys from Brooklyn back in the day, we went to sleepaway camp. I went to a sleepaway camp at the Delaware Water Gap, Kittatinny Camp, and it was really the best time of my life. Did about 7-8 summers there. And when I came back and eventually became a school teacher, as most teachers know, you look for some extra income in the summer months. And I just sort of fell into the day camp industry. And over the years, I worked for other people. I started other camps, different locations, different names. And 32 years later, here I am.
Well, it's great. Now, listen, like I said, we're friends, so public disclosure, so everyone knows you and I are friends. But like I said, I'm not ever thinking about camp because, my son is 4.5. I know, and he'll be coming to you, believe me. But, your camp, even to someone like me who doesn't have a child, it's known all over Staten Island. And again, this is your 25th year. Is that right? This is the anniversary?
This will be our 25th anniversary. Yeah.
So obviously you're doing something right? So tell us, before we get into the other questions, tell us a little bit about what makes your camp different, what makes your camp special, and ultimately, 25 years is a long time. So what's keeping your camp going?
Well, I'd have to first say that I have a knack for hiring the best people, including my young, beautiful wife, who is the director of the camp. Our directors have probably a combined 200 years in camping. Michael Hanlon, Chris Caputo, Lauren, Jessica Giacchi, they're all school teachers. And they stay with us a long time. I hope I didn't leave anyone out. Nick and Danielle. And we also, like most private camps on the island, believe it or not, and everywhere else, we really only hire adults. And that really, I think, makes a difference. So in addition to, the supervision, the low ratios, our program has been fine-tuned over the last 3 decades. We have a pretty unique program of combining traditional activities like sports and arts and crafts and fishing and golf and karate and fencing with trips and special events. We go to the movies and the Statue of Liberty and Yankee game, and our schedule is pretty full. So what I tell parents is that the kids will come home and be ready for bed. And it seems to work.
Well, I know you kind of glazed over, but I find and again, just because, as you know, my company does a lot of the work on the grounds there.
Mhm.
I see a lot of stuff going on there, and I've never seen a day camp that, you're doing pizza parties. I've seen you bring in DJs. I've seen you guys get on buses and go on trips. So talk a little about those experiences and those value added, because I don't know if every day camp does it, but I know you do, and I think it's great.
Believe it or not, a lot of camps do it. I'm not going to take credit for reinventing the wheel. I mean, I learned from others. I think some camps on the island have learned from us. We just provide a nice balance, but it's interesting because over the decades, we've seen not a shift in the kids, but a shift in the parents. So I like to make fun of my parents who have been with me. I call them helicopter parents because they hover. But now in the last 4 or 5 years, I've noticed a change in attitude with the parents. Parents now want their kids, to get, I don't want to say get hurt, but they want them to, fall on the ground, play in the mud. I mean, we used to get yelled at if a child came home and his t-shirt was dirty. Now parents almost take it as a badge of honor. So
I can't wait for my son to fall on the ground, eat dirt, skin his knee.
Yes.
I'm excited. Me and my wife can't wait.
It's a way to build immunity. If you
we
ask
can't
me.
wait.
But, and I just found that as that changed, 20 years ago, before the internet and games, the trips, I think, were the big attraction, and we did maybe 3 or 4 a week. But in the last 10 years, first of all, we instituted a no cell phone policy, which the parents, the first year we did it, got a little mad at me because the kids would torture them. Now they love it. So the kids, especially the older kids and the girls, we confiscate their phones at 8 o'clock. They get them back at 4 o'clock. And we've been doing more hands-on things, more nature-like things. For example, the fishing and the hiking. We also have a very successful STEM program for all ages. And it's important that you go with the flow and you change with the times, I guess, if I had to put it into a cliche.
No, but that's great. So I like the idea of taking the cell phone away because you figure that's all they're doing anyway. So at least, for a couple hours, they're actually doing something with their hands. They're learning. They're talking to each other because people forget how to even speak to each other, and we're going to get into that socially integrating.
There's a lot of socialization that goes on in the camp environment, which is why, I think I just read there are over 25 million kids in camp in the United States, which is almost double from 20 years ago. So yes, we're a pretty affordable and healthy way to provide childcare, but camp really is much more than that. Between the socialization and the structure, and to talk about this summer, we feel really twice as critical to the well-being of our campers, which is why we're doing everything possible to open and stay open this year, which I'm sure you're going to get into.
So tell me about that, because I mentioned it at the beginning when I opened up the segment, but I found it really interesting when you said it. And if you remember, I actually repeated because I didn't really get it. But your industry specifically hasn't really gotten a mandate. Talk about that.
No, yes and no. In 48 states in this union, and probably a few territories as well, governors and local officials have given permission, especially for day camps, to open. There have been some states that are still holding off on sleepaway camps. Most of those states are allowing it. In a lot of states, the sleepaway camp, and especially, is a very large part of the economy for those areas. So they really want to try to get it open. But day camps in 48 states are opening, and especially private camps. And the 49th state, which is my own lovely state of New Jersey, Governor Murphy just announced on Sunday, on one of the Sunday shows, that camps and daycare centers will be open sooner rather than later. Most people think that it's critical to open these facilities in order for people to go back to work. On Staten Island, where so many of our parents are essential workers, we really feel that we would fit into the CDC guideline known as phase 1. But phase 2 is really what we're looking forward to, because phase 2 is when camps can open anywhere and everywhere. And if they meet the guidelines, which I showed you earlier, we have a 200-page book here back in front.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
It's put out by the CDC. And camps, I've been telling parents for 30 years, kids are safer in camp than they are at home. Physically and statistically. And yeah, it's going to be a little bit different this year, and we can go over some of those differences. But these kids who come to camp will be safe, and we're just waiting for the official word that we can open. But on a normal year, we wouldn't get our permit until a week or two before camp begins. So in a way, we're used to this, but we never had this sort of cloud over our head. So if Governor Cuomo is listening, I would just say that we want to open. Our parents want us to open. We have had a few cancellations, not that many percentage-wise. I think a lot of those cancellations were based on the fact that parents might be living with older grandparents.
Right, precautionary measure.
Yes, we've had some diabetic parents who have postponed. But as I said, and this is not just us, any camp on Staten Island that's open, any private day camp, has to meet incredible criteria to open on a regular summer. So with the additional guidelines, your child will not be any safer anywhere else. And I truly believe that.
So that's what I want to talk about. Before we talk about the cloud that you mentioned over our heads, let's just talk about what it takes to year in and year out operate, facilitate, and safely manage all these kids. Tell us about the protocols and procedures that you have in place anyway, regardless of COVID.
Well, that would take 2 hours to go over everything.
Just an overview.
To summarize, New York State Department of Health has a law, I believe it's called PS 42, which dictates the safe and healthy operation of summer camps, specifically day camps. I'm not that familiar. I went to sleepaway, but I'm not that familiar with their guidelines and safety procedures. But on a regular summer, we have a safety plan, and within the safety plan, every possible activity is described. Every precaution that we take is listed, and it goes probably over 4 or 5 general areas. Swimming, which would dictate the amount of lifeguards, the pool, how it's looked after, how it's tested. Transportation is a very big part of the safety procedures. Most camps on the island, like us, we only use Board of Ed inspected yellow buses with certified union Board of Ed drivers who are medically cleared every year, drug tested, fingerprinted. A lot of the camp safety plan deals with your medical staff. Every camp has a so-called medical director. We happen to have a nurse. Actually, we have 2 or 3 nurses. Hello, Jay, and a few others, EMTs, and those nurses distribute medication. They log certain injuries and illnesses. And of course, food preparation is a very big part of the safety procedures as well. In our particular case, we cater the food in. A lot of camps provide their own lunch, and they have even stricter guidelines. So it's a very regulated industry, and we wouldn't have it any other way. And that's
obviously, I mean, like I said multiple times, 25 years in the game, you're doing it right. So what are the new restrictions, or how do you see opening up this year? So what do you think they're going to add to your plate of having to do?
Since we haven't officially been told, I'm going by a couple of guidelines. One guideline is the CDC. They put out a month ago guidelines for opening daycare centers and summer camps. So I have those guidelines. Another important indicator, I think, because Governor Cuomo has stated in the past that he was going to try to keep things similar to the tri-state area. Connecticut allowed camps to open a few weeks ago and put out guidelines, and I have their guidelines, and I'm pretty confident that whatever New York puts out will be pretty similar to what Connecticut and then New Jersey puts out. And then on top of all of that is an organization known as the American Camping Association. It's been around for many, many years.
The American Camping Association.
Yes.
I like that.
It's a huge organization, and they monitor camps. They really do have their, I think a lot of the politicians and health departments actually go by what they're putting out as guidelines. So we have the state, we have the American Camp Association, and I have some other states. North Carolina came out with guidelines. They're really pretty much similar. some minor differences, but they're pretty similar. So I have a pretty good idea of what it's going to take to run the camp safely this summer.
So you're gearing up. You're gearing up, and I'm going to pull up your website. So when you go to your website,
I'm geared up, man.
We're gonna put it in the comments because, again, if you're watching or listening, we want you to be able to go and check out what the camp is offering. Even if you don't have kids, just take a look. They got great programs. But when you come to their homepage, which is right here, the first thing you see is the countdown to camp, 33 days. So in a world right now where every other business is shuttered and trying to scrape and scramble, you're ready to go. You're counting down and you're confident, right? We're confident this is going to be the date.
We're ready to go, and our parents are ready to go. I mean, they call me and email me, have you heard? What's the update? I mean, they really are anxious to get their kids in camp, not just for, the ability to go to work and, be secure at work knowing that their kids are safe, but also they see the social implications of their children being home looking at computer screens every day for so long.
Well, I want to touch on that, and we will, but I want to compliment you, and I want to shout you out, because here, right on your website at the very top, you have COVID-19 in camp, and you've prepared. And I'm going to scroll through it, but you have at least 8 links here. 8 links. I'm sorry, 8 links where people can come and learn and understand what's going on and how you're working to achieve everything necessary. So that was a good idea by you to have this up on the site so parents can see this information, understand the information, and learn what you guys are doing to take steps towards reopening.
And also at some point, we're going to have, I don't know if we'll be able to have our usual mass gathering where we celebrate the opening of camp, but at some point we'll have some sort of meetings or virtual Zoom meetings. I mean, we have over 300 families. I'm going to try to figure out how to do that. I'm sure a lot of parents have questions about how things are going to go. We do keep them updated with, as most camps do, with the emails and Facebook posts. And we've been doing activities on our Facebook page, wacky scavenger hunts and
but it's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of camps in other states. See, there are camps in states that open much earlier. Like Florida opens the end of May.
Right.
So there have been some camps that had not in Florida, but some camps have been forced to switch to a virtual program.
Okay.
I don't really think that's going to give you the same bang for the buck, but a lot of camps are. Is
that something you're thinking about, or you're not leaning towards that at all?
No, I don't think so. I think after 25 years of the physical, being physically on camp, I don't know that the virtual camp. I mean, we might do it as a supplemental, but not as to replace anything.
So you touched on something earlier, and I think it's very important because mental health and call it what you want. I'm going to call it maintaining sanity, right? So the reality is that people have been. I mean, now as we see, good, bad, or indifferent, people are out now. Whether they're supposed to be or not, that's for a different show. But people are out more than they have been, which is good. People are riding their bikes, running around. They're trying to be, safe, socially distanced with masks, but they're out more now than they have been. So I think it's good they're doing that. But there's still people who have been in their homes and not doing anything at all for, 8, 10, 12 weeks. And now you do that to a child. I mean, it takes an effect mentally and emotionally on the child and the parent as well, right? So talk to me about that. How do you feel like you'll be able to deal with mental health or try and encourage kids?
First of all, I think that just that kids look forward to camp all year. I mean, I don't know if those in the audience who were campers will understand what I'm saying, but it's a way of life. It's just something that can't be explained. I mean, it's sort of how you remember your 3rd or 4th grade teacher forever, or your first kiss, maybe, if you've had it. You never forget your camp experience. And just missing something that you get every year is is going to hurt some of these children mentally. But as I said earlier, the fact that you're indoors, the fact that you're not socializing, you're not with your friends. As a matter of fact, one of the things that my director Jessica recommended, which we're going to do, is we are going to put on staff some psychologists / guidance counselors, because we're not sure how kids are going to react to being shuttered indoors for 4 months or so. And also, I think camp's going to be a good way to work the schools back up. I mean, there's free play and there's fun, but there also is quite a bit of structure in a camp setting. So I believe that it's going to help all the way around. But if you don't mind, I just want to briefly tell you that some of the things we're doing for the physical well-being of our campers include health screenings, distancing to a certain extent. We're going to keep certain groups together for the summer, not have any massive indoor gatherings like we used to have. As far as the buses go, they're going to be separated on the bus, and of course, most buses have high seat back, so it's a natural that they're safer than, let's say, coming to camp in their parents' car. So we're going to do whatever it takes. We're going to follow the regulations. If a child feels ill, we're going to know it before the parent does, because we have so many medical personnel on premises. We have it all set up as to what to do if a child, on any given summer, we get 10 or 11 a summer, children come to camp with a fever.
Right.
And how we're going to handle it now is, we have a suite of offices in the CYO building at Mount Loretto that we can isolate the camper. We have a plan for notifying the parent. So we really think we're ready to go. As a matter of fact,
but it sounds like you're confident. I mean, it doesn't sound like there's anything you haven't thought of as a precautionary and safety measure.
No, as a matter of fact, the only one in camp. I like to joke. I'm 60 with some medical situation, so I think I'm the only one who's got to really stay away from everybody. But and a lot of parents don't realize that in addition to the 300 campers that we're expecting this summer, there's also about 50 to 60 adult staff. And when I say adult, most of them are college students, but there's a lot of college kids who are graduating, and this is a job they need to pay for their books or insurance on their car. So
absolutely,
it's not just the campers. It's I believe it's a $30 billion industry. Don't quote me on that.
Wow.
Camping in general. I mean, it's huge. Now, Staten Island is pretty good. Most camps on Staten Island are pretty moderately priced, but a summer at camp can be anywhere from $5,000 to $12,000 and up. So
I got to start saving now. He's only 4.5 months.
Yeah, it could be college he could study for, but camp. But I'll give you a discount.
I was gonna say maybe if I start paying you now, like $10 a month, by the time he's got to go, I'll be all right.
Listen, not only that, I was thinking this year we might need camp for adults because they're going a little nuts too. Maybe a little club getaway situation.
Camp for adults. Isn't camp for adults called a bar? No, maybe only me.
Yeah, that's at night. So I just want parents to know that you come to camp, your kids will be safe. You'll know everything that's going on. We're going to go, as always, as all camps on Staten Island, above and beyond, what the city and state allow in a usual summer is the bare minimum. For example, the state and city allows a council to be 14 years old and 16 years old. But most camps around here are only high and college students. So that's just something that's going to apply to this summer as well. Good.
So before we continue, and I don't want to interrupt you, but this is the part where I mentioned to you earlier, where we're going to do our COVID Talks Hero of the Day. And now this is the time where we're going to invite our 70 some odd viewers who thank you again for watching. So if anyone has a question or a comment for Larry, this is the time where we encourage you to go into the comment section, type the question. When we come back, I'm going to be able to pull them up live on the screen, and we're going to give Larry just about as many as we can.
Be polite.
Yes. Well, we're not going to put up anything that's bad. Don't worry, Larry. All right. So Larry, you're off for like 3 seconds. I'm going to do the COVID Talks Hero of the Day, and you're actually going to know exactly who it is because it's right next door to you, actually. So tonight's COVID Talks Hero of the Day, Staten Island's own, America's painter, Scott Lebedo. I said painter, America's artist, excuse me, Scott Lebedo. He recently, a couple days ago, put up his newest piece of artwork. It's called 946 Voices. It is a memorial located on the grounds of Mount Loretto, right down on Highland Boulevard in Tottenville. And the memorial is for those on Staten Island who lost their lives to the coronavirus. The installation is magnificent. We have a shot there of what it looks like during the day and what it looks like at night. I do encourage you to get in the car and just take a drive, take a walk. It'll give you a reason to get out of the house, but please go look at it. It's really something beautiful to look at. Matter of fact, the Cardinal himself, the Archdiocese, was on site over the weekend and actually blessed the installment and blessed and thanked Scott and Vinny Ignizio and everybody over at Catholic Charities for putting the installation up. So, Scott, we love you. Shout out to you. Thank you for continuing to do great work and always putting Staten Island first. So, our COVID Talks hero of the day, Mr. Scott Lebedo. All right, so Larry, we're back. I'm going to go into the comment section, and I'm going to scan, and I'm going to scan, and I'm going to give you some. I'm going to give you some layups first. All right. So yeah, Anthony says hi, and Johnny was looking forward to his first year. We love RCDC from Dawn Marie Herman.
Hi, Dawn. Still waiting for you to move down to Manalapan. Actually, her son Johnny, it's his first year, but her other oldest son, I want to say it's going to be his third or fourth year. And,
there you go. All right, so we got from Miss Megan Wood. We want camp, but how can this possibly happen with only 10 people allowed together? So Megan's referring to the mandate that came out over the weekend.
Okay, that actually is very easy for us. First of all, on a normal summer, our ratio is usually 8-1. So what we play, and this is if it's ruled that this is what we have to follow. We still don't know. Megan, I believe this is your first year, so you may not have been to Mount Loretto. Anthony will testify. It's got to be 300 acres, so we do have the space to spread out. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep the groups of 10 together with one counselor, or 8 or 9. You know, it goes up and down a little every Monday. So that will not be an issue. And one of the things I didn't point out earlier, which I think most of you guys know who are watching, the virus, according to the scientific studies that I have in front of me right over here, is much, much weaker in the summer and outdoors. So we're probably going to have less time indoors and more time outdoors. But first of all, that rule of 10 is what the governor has put into place before he has put us into the opening phase. Once we get into the opening phase, that number will change. But that's not an issue. We're just going to be more spread out this year. I'm not sure about which trips we'll be able to go on to this year. Like normally we do movies and bowling, but maybe Statue of Liberty and zoos and things like that will be more appropriate. But once we get the actual guidelines, we'll be explaining to everybody how we're going to.
You'll be able to pivot immediately.
Immediately.
Well, thank you, Megan, for your comment. We appreciate it. And now this is the one I wanted to ask, but someone put it in there. So Donna Marie, shout out to Donna. Thank you for watching. Are the kids going to have to wear masks during camp?
You know, that is the one guideline that won't work. We are not. First of all, I'll be wearing a mask because, as I said, you know, I'm sort of a senior citizen. And some of our adult staff might. However, there is no way that you can mandate putting a mask on a 7 or an 8 or a 5-year-old that's going to stay on. So, and by the way, in the other states that I mentioned, the other 48.5 states that are opening day camps, masks are not part of the protocol or the guidelines. I mean, I've even read studies that masks don't even really help unless you are, you know, sick with something. So no, there will not be masks.
Got it.
I mean, we had I've seen arts and crafts projects for masks, but no, masks will not be necessary, and it's not practical. But the distancing will be easy to handle.
So we got a good question from Rachel Liu. Shout out to Rachel. Thanks for watching. So you answered the mask question, but the first half, because earlier you mentioned the health screenings. So her question is, what will the health screenings involve?
Well, there's a couple of answers to that. First of all, for adult staff, the health screening will involve every person, from me all the way down to someone who cleans the lunch tables, has to have a signed by a doctor medical form on file, in addition to the necessary background checks that we do. So that's one phase of the screening, is having to see a doctor. I've heard from a few parents who have told me that they've already had testing done on their kids. A couple of parents told me this week that their kids had the antibodies. I'm not exactly up to date on that. So the screenings will involve probably on the child's first day at camp or arriving in the morning. We've ordered a couple of dozen of those digital thermometers. That seems to be the most common screening procedure that camps are using. I believe if they have over, I don't know the exact number, but if they have over a certain amount, they get a further looking at. But also screening is asking the parent if the child has been ill over the weekend, have they had visitors from another state. There's a huge, this thick of paperwork and protocol. And I did leave out something else, and that's hygiene and sanitation. We already do that, but we're going to go the extra mile, with the cleaning. We have a company that sanitizes in the evening. We're purchasing and renting a number of portable sink stations. We've always had the sanitizer stations. So we've always had the counselors go, we've always given counselors, the squirt bottles of the sanitizer.
Yeah. Well, good, because that answered a couple of them. Because I'm looking at them, and a couple of them were asking about sanitizers. So you're good. You're taking care of that right now.
Specifically, though, Rachel, as far as the masks go, I can't imagine that masks will be something that the guidelines will include, possibly for adults. But everyone knows that, masks, we don't really know. I mean, first of all, the child-to-child transmission of this disease is practically nil.
Right.
And second of all, I just don't think that that's practical. I don't think the kids are going to wear their masks. So I really think that if the government wanted, all those other 49 states wanted masks, that I just think they would say you can't open. But I didn't see the guidelines yet, and you'll know as soon as I do.
So thank you, Rachel. We got a nice one from Rob Monaco. Love Larry. My daughter's been there for 4 years. Great camp.
You know what? The other thing I didn't mention, I got a list of points here. We don't have enough time, but the other thing is that normally swimming, a lot of adults, and you, Anthony, might find this hard to believe, but kids get fairly bored of swimming.
Okay.
Most of our parents have pools at home. However, one study that I do have in front of me involves chlorinated water and how that's something that we probably will add to our activities in a fun way. And of course, the splash pad for the younger kids, because chlorinated water is considered extremely safe, not just for the COVID, but for just about everything else.
Good.
So we're going to adapt our activities. And Rob, I appreciate the shout out, and I hope to see you soon.
So we got our good friend Vinny Bonomi. Vinny Bonomi is Special Tees. If you don't know what Special Tees is, Google it right now. Special Tees is doing great work. Everything from T-shirts to any kind of marketing, promotional materials. Vinny's been at it since the very beginning, working hard. He's got a ton of people working for him. So go to his website. His question for you, Larry, is I tuned in late. Is there a time frame when NYC or New York State is going to say a yes or no? I'm waiting on pins and needles, hoping we get our camps.
How you doing, Vinny? I've heard a lot about you. Mike Berg, who, of course, is an integral part of our whole camp situation. I know his wife works over there, and I promised her that when my T-shirt guy retires, which will be soon, he's getting up there, but he's been with me for 25 years.
Bring Vinny business. We got to get business. We love him.
But I do know that a lot of industries depend on camps and a lot of other things. I mean, the inflatable entertainment, tent renting companies, the T-shirt companies, of course, the entertainers. I mean, we bring in at least 10 to 15 shows from the Harlem Wizards to Simon Says, to Ari Safari, to ESP guys. They're all also waiting on pins and needles. But to answer your question specifically, the only way to know what the time frame is to get inside our governor's head and try to understand what he's thinking, which of course is impossible.
Yeah, I would say if we could do that.
I just hope, I get the feeling that the tide is turning in favor of opening up. However, about 2 weeks ago, he went on TV and said he wouldn't send his kids to camp this summer. Of course, he's a multimillionaire who has homes all over the country. He could send his kids, or he'd probably send his kids to camp out of state. But that's a whole nother story. So thanks for the question. And I will, as soon as I know, I will let everyone know, and I'll make sure to tell Mike to tell you what's going on. So
we have a good question, good follow-up question. First of all, Summer, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. So Summer says, if a child is found to be sick, through the metrics that you mentioned and the precautions, will you be alerting the parents that the child came into contact with? So if I'm sick, are you going to say that I was hanging out with Bobby, Jimmy, and Jen?
Right. Well, that's something that has been in place for the last 20 years. Part of our safety plan. And how you doing, Summer, by the way? If it's the Summer who I think it is, it'll be her daughter's, I think, fourth, maybe fifth summer. But Summer's fifth summer. Yes, that is correct. So there is already protocol for some kind of communicable disease notification. The short answer is yes. Specifically with the COVID, there's going to be a procedure in place. I have an idea of what it's going to be based on Connecticut and some other states. But yes, we will notify you. We will notify the whole camp, I believe, is going to be notified. I think
that's a good precaution.
Protocol.
That's a good precaution.
I don't know for sure till I see it, but also keep in mind that children are just not passing this on to other children. However, it is important to let families know in case they have that elderly grandparent in their home.
Exactly.
So absolutely, just like any other situation. Some of and so do our other parents who happen to be listening. We're extremely vigilant with the notification of families, and I basically do that because one of the biggest reasons I've been yelled at over the years is not telling a parent something. So normally we let a parent know stuff before they even have a chance to ask their child when they're home for that day. So yes, that'll definitely be in the guideline.
So John, thank you for watching. And I just put
John.
it up because Larry already answered your question, I believe, about the hand sanitizing stations, the bathroom and eating. He said they're going to have a private company come in and handle it in addition to their traditional sanitizers that they're going to have in place. Correct, Larry?
Yeah, it's one of the things we're a little unsure of is what the lunch situation is going to be. Now, I happen to know that not the menu, but the way we serve lunch will no longer be appropriate this summer. What we would normally do is have what's known as, not to get too technical, but we've been using the buffet style of serving, and that just puts too many people in their hands, too many of them get involved in the serving of the lunch. So I've spoken to our caterer, which of course is a good friend of ours, Mario over at Barrios. Mention my name, you'll get 10% discount. But we already have a method where we can individually wrap the lunches. But there's going to be no difference between this year and the past 25 years. These kids' hands are washed before lunch, they're sanitized, and keeping the place clean is extremely important. It's a priority for us. So it'll be really, right. I probably should say that it's going to be more so this year, but really it's going to be like always.
Right.
We're just not sure how we're going to serve the lunch, what's appropriate. I'm thinking pizza is a safe thing and barbecues because the child can take it with their own hand. However, I'm waiting for guidelines.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. But it seems like you got everything in order. So we have a question here, and I'm looking at it. I think it's going to be difficult, but I don't know if it's going to be difficult. But I think it's a good question, so I want to give it to you. So if
go ahead, I can handle it.
If it's a bad one, I apologize. But I think
got my wife listening. She'll come in and tell me.
I think it's good. So Samantha Harrington, first of all, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. So Samantha says, how do you plan on social distancing on a bus? That's interesting.
Hey, Samantha, how are you? I got to think this is her 7th year, maybe 6th or 7th year.
Wow.
If I remember correctly, Samantha might be AM only, and she wants early pickup. We're waiting for the guidelines, but as I've tried to communicate to you guys, we're thinking of every possibility. At the worst, meaning at the worst for us, we will have one child per seat. So the average big bus, I believe, would fit 30 or so campers, one per seat next to the window. So that looks like that would be the most stringent option. But we're not sure what the guidelines will tell us. They may tell us that, we could put 40 kids on a bus. It really won't affect us with the picking up and dropping off of half of our campers are brought into camp because we have free extended hours, and many of our parents work weird hours. So they'll drop off 6:30 in the morning, come pick them up 5:30 at night. But for the other half who use the bus, we normally don't put more than an hour and 20 minutes worth of driving on each individual bus. So distancing them on the bus in the morning and the afternoon won't be an issue. Where it's going to get tricky for me is going to be transporting on the various trips. So most likely we will have to hire extra buses this year just to take them on the various destinations that we go to. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, you may have missed it, and the buses will be sanitized. I mean, these buses are Board of Ed buses, so they have the procedures for the Board of Ed already in place. But these buses all have the high backs. The kids, where the back of the seat in front of them goes above their head. So they have that natural barrier. But as soon as I have a very specific answer, you will hear it. And I hope to see you soon, Samantha.
We put just now in the comment section, I put up another link to the website. So I encourage you to go there, click that. I'm assuming and I'm sure that once Larry and his team knows what's going on, you're going to update that website, correct, Larry? So people can get information?
Yeah, but you know what? This little thing that we're doing tonight has convinced me that I'm going to call, as soon as I get done here, I'm going to call my director, Chris, and he's going to figure out a way for parents to submit questions. We have been communicating with updates and emails and things like that, but I think we should be answering specific questions. Normally, a parent would just come to an open house, but we don't know when that next one will be. So you guys will get some kind of communication so that you'll see a method where you can ask me specific questions. And thank you, Anthony, for that.
Very cool.
I realize it's me.
So before we let you go, I'm going to just end with a positive one. So from Anthony Peretti. Anthony, thank you for watching. Hi, Larry. My son, Anthony, can't wait to get back. It'll be his 3rd year. I absolutely love RCDC. Hope to see everyone soon.
Ditto. And we will see you soon, one way or another. We've got all kinds of, plans, some through the front door, some through the back door. But we really do know that I really think this summer is more necessary for us, for the parent and for the child, more than ever, honestly. And that's really mostly the comments I'm getting. As a matter of fact, I have about 30 people waiting to enroll. Literally, I don't want to call it a waiting list, but an enrollment list, just waiting until the word comes down. So we're ready for those guys too. And we do have space. So if you are interested in enrolling and haven't done so yet, you can call me. We can enroll you. You don't have to worry about the financial aspect of it. We've already told our parents that unlike most summers, we're going to allow parents to stretch out their tuition payments up until August. If parents, for some reason, parent can't come or has to cancel, we'll be issuing either refunds or credits or both. So this is, as you mentioned, our 25th summer, and we plan on being around, maybe not me personally, but another 25 years more. So we'll
good. That was a perfect way to end the segment. So you're running the business beautifully. You're going to be able to work with parents if they want to enroll and they can't do it, and extending payments. You're working with everybody to make sure that these kids can have the summer they deserve, and that parents can get that little reprieve they deserve as well too, right?
A problem is most of our parents, about 60%, enrolled before camp's even over the year before, and they've been paying all year. But the parent who enrolls in May or June or July, that's right, a pretty large sum to come up with at once. So we're going to be working with everybody, and we look forward to seeing you personally and everyone else. I know you run some terrific events, the drive-in movies.
We'll be back.
Fall festival. I hope
we're working on the drive-ins, Larry, and then we'll get everything else back on there too. We'll put people in camp. Man.
And I hope you invite me back once we know camp is open. If you have a day you don't have something air to fill. You're always in. You're the best.
Thank you, I want to thank you, Larry, for being with us. I know you're going to see when you watch the video, there's still comments coming in. So, I invite you, Larry, to take a look. Comment. Yeah, I invite you to take a look, Larry, because you may see some stuff and you may have additional questions you want to get out there and you want to answer. So feel free. I'm going to bring you down, and then I'll come back and talk to you when the show is over. But again, thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate it. You got a lot of comments, a lot of feedback. And quite frankly, like I said, my son is little, but summer camp is a hot topic, and people need to know what's going on. People need to know, and thank you for being with us to educate us, and myself included. We appreciate it.
Okay, man. I'll see you. Thank you.
You got it. So really, really nice, really informative. I know I learned a lot because, again, my son's 4.5 months old, and I'm not really familiar with summer camps, but it's interesting to see that the industry itself hasn't really gotten any guidelines because, at least here on Staten Island, July is the opening date. So I guess if they can skirt around it or come up with a solution prior to the opening date, then that's great. But as you heard and as you saw, Larry and his team is ready for anything. The camp has been operating for 25 years safely and effectively. And now if they need to implement new measures of safety or new measures of social distancing, whatever they have to do, Larry's already thinking about it. He's ready to get it done. So we commend him for doing that. And we hope, I hope as well, that we're able to just get the camps going, as everyone said in the comment section. So we look forward to seeing it. And maybe we'll even bring Larry back when a verdict or a mandate comes down, specifically related to the day camp industry, so that he can educate us further. So before we go, we just want to, once again, encourage you to join us tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we'll have with us Neshama Marcus, Chief Program Director of the JCC, the Jewish Community Center, out here on Staten Island. She's going to be talking to us about a brand new program the JCC launched for coronavirus outreach relief. It's a program that's available for people to deal with side effects or ancillary effects of either having the virus and or living with someone who has had the virus, mental effects, etc. So we encourage you to learn more about that program tomorrow night. Then on Thursday night, we're really excited. We're going to do a first of its kind here on COVID Talks. We're going to be doing a wedding roundtable. We're going to have Wayne Fleming from Emerald Film Studios. We're going to have Dave Solomon from the Studio Photographers. And we're going to have Gary Fleming from Dash of Class Platinum Entertainment here on Staten Island. And we're going to have a sort of roundtable about the state of the wedding industry as a whole, talk about what brides are doing, what grooms are doing, how postponements are working, because again, nothing is canceled, everything's postponed, but they're going to offer their insights, their guidelines, and their wisdom, and they're even going to be offering their time for free, whether you're booking with them or not. They're going to have a registration that if you're interested, you could talk to them offline after the show and get some inside knowledge and pick their brains a little bit as to what you guys could do if you're getting married now or you're looking to get married in the future. All right, so that's it. Thank you for tuning in. If you were watching us live, we really, really appreciate it. Thank you for listening. If you were listening via the podcast, Larry, we thank you again for being with us. So once again, this was COVID Talks, positive conversations during uncertain times. Have a good night.